Good afternoon, everyone. As Jackie said, my name is Keisha Rogers. I'm a certification officer with the City of Chicago Department of Procurement Services. So I am actually one of the officers that reviews, approves, or denies applications for certification with the City of Chicago. So we're going to go through the presentation, as Jackie said, and then we'll wait for questions. And then if anyone has questions, I'll bring you the mic, and I'll try to answer your questions as best as I possibly can, okay? So I don't know if Jackie gave everybody a copy of the presentation, so you'll have it. We're just going to pretty much go through it. So the Department of Procurement Services is the contracting authority for the procurement of goods and services for the City of Chicago. So we work together as a team and with our customers to guarantee an open, fair, and timely process by establishing, communicating, and enforcing superior business practices. So the City of Chicago programs, we have the local programs and the federal programs. So the first four at the top of this list are the local programs. So those are the ones that are considered local and actually have a fee. So that's the MBE, Minority-Owned Business Enterprise, WBE, the Women-Owned Business Enterprise, the VBE, Veteran-Owned Business Enterprise, BEPD, businesses owned by people with disabilities, and then the last two, the DBE and the ACDBE, are the federal programs. Those two are actually free. So that's the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, and ACDBE is Airport Concessions Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. So actually the ACDBE is exactly what it said. It is for airport concessions. So what we do, DPS is committed to providing information, resources, and tools to assist you in your efforts to compete for City of Chicago contracting opportunities. So as I said, we accept and review new applications for certification, annual no change affidavits, and recertification applications, which are due every 5 years. We'll go a little bit more into that later. We contract compliance with negotiated contractual MWV and DBE participation goals. We set standards for contract participation for the MWBEPD and VBEs, as well as DBE and ACDBEs, and we assist the vendors through our website. So the cityofchicago.org/procurement is one of the websites, but to go directly to your application for certification, the chicago.mwdbe.com website will be the one that you will want to go directly to your dashboard and all of that once you actually get that stuff up and running. So what are the benefits of certification? It provides visibility. So once certified, your firm is listed in a directory which is accessible to the general public. So that's actually the Illinois UCP. If you are familiar with that, then you'll hear that a lot. So once you are certified, your name goes in there. It's public access. Anybody can go in there and pull up the certified firms. There are minority, women, veteran, and disadvantaged business participation goals on City of Chicago projects and sister agencies, which pretty much means when they put contracts out, they have a goal where they are requiring M, a W, or disadvantaged, whatever certification they're looking for. They have goals where a certain amount of those firms have to be women-owned or minority-owned. There are businesses in the private sector that seek out certified firms for products and or services. So people look, it's not just good for the City of Chicago, but other businesses also look for certified firms, okay? The City of Chicago also has a target market program which provides exclusive bidding to certified minority and women-owned businesses, enterprises. So this benefit allows for certified businesses to take 100% of the contract because there are no subcontractor goals associated with the project, okay? So that's another benefit for certification. So do you qualify? Qualifying groups are African American, Hispanic, Asian, Native American, women, veteran, persons with disabilities, and other individuals who can provide social and economic disadvantage. So if you feel that if you don't fall into one of those categories, but you feel that you are disadvantaged, then there is steps that you can go through to actually provide documentation to say, yes, I feel like I'm socially and economically disadvantaged. The veteran-owned business enterprise, that is one of the latest ones that has been added. I think it's might be going on like a year and a half, almost 2 years with this one. But that is for veterans. So the definition for veteran means a person who has served in the United States Armed Forces and was discharged or separated under not dishonorable conditions. So usually for that, only thing we need is that DD-214 or DD-215 So if anyone is a veteran, usually they are familiar with those documents, and that's all they pretty much really need to provide to us to prove that they are a veteran and to apply for that certification. Next, certification requirements. So local business. You have to be a local business, okay? So that means you have to be in the city of Chicago or the surrounding counties, which are Cook, DuPage, Kane, Lake, McHenry, or Will. So that applies to the local programs. When we start going into the federal programs, which remember I mentioned before, the DBE and ACDBE, you could be anywhere in Illinois, okay? So the federal programs, you can be a DBE or ACDBE certified, and then go to other states and apply. Illinois will be considered your home state, but you can go to Texas or, you know, Indiana or whatever and also apply for their DBE programs as well. Your firm needs to be 51% or more owned, controlled, and managed by a minority, a woman, a veteran, or a person with a disability, or for the DBE, ACDBE program, socially or economic disadvantaged individuals. So that 51% is huge. Whoever is in control of that company, that minority, like I said, the woman, they have to own that business at least 51% or more, okay? There are size standards. So for the M, W, and V, the gross receipts of your business cannot exceed 38.9 million, okay? Over 3 years for non-construction, and for construction, we look at 5 years. So if you look at, if you're actually, your business is grossing $40 million a year, you really don't need the certification. Or once you get to that point, after you're certified, then the certification has done what it's supposed to do for you. It has helped your business to grow and to be successful. DBE also has gross receipts, which are either subject to the SBA size standards or not to exceed 23.98 million over 3 years. ACDBE, their gross receipts is 56.42 million, or over 3 years as well. Okay, so there are some exceptions, but that's on a case-by-case basis. There also is a personal net worth standard. Okay, so again, if you personally are worth 2.3 million, then you do not qualify for the program. Okay. So for M, W, and V, the threshold only applies to construction companies, and it is currently at 2.276 million, okay? This is looked at annually, and it changes. It actually goes up almost every year. DBE and ACDBE, the threshold applies to all people seeking certification, and is currently at 1.3 million. That might be a little low, but it's around 1.3 million. That's also adjusted by the U.S. Department of Transportation. The calculation of personal net worth excludes the value of your primary residence and any value that you have in your business. So we will exclude that, okay, when we're looking at personal net worth. So you really only have to be concerned with personal net worth if you have a construction company or if you are applying for or are DBE or ACDB firm, okay? So businesses that qualify, pretty much all of them. Sole proprietorships, general partnerships, and there are certain things depending on exactly what type of company you have that you will have to provide, which is kind of what this slide also explains. So for sole proprietor, you have to submit the assumed name certificate if operating in a name other than the owner. Okay, for a general partnership, where you have 2 or more people that go into business together without any formalities, you have to provide the partnership agreement. For a corporation is treated as an entity completely separate from its shareholders. So it allows others to invest in the business without being liable for the debts of that business. So we look at, is your firm in good standing? So that's with the Secretary of State. We actually go onto the Secretary of State website to determine if you are active. If you are not active, then usually we'll let you know that so that you can rectify that situation with the Secretary of State. Yes, please, at the end, yep. And then articles of incorporation, certificate of incorporation, bylaws, copies of stock certificates issued front and back. Meeting minutes are also required for corporations. So if you don't have all of that stuff, especially if you're a startup, that's okay. So if you don't have it, it's just a matter of explaining to us why you don't have that information. It could be I'm a startup or whatever it is. Just make sure you explain to your officer why you do not have that information. So limited partnerships, the limited partners are more like stakeholders in a corporation. They are not liable for the debts beyond their own contribution. So for that, we look for the assumed name, certification, or certificate of limited partnership. LLCs, partnerships that have a managing member or partner, we definitely look for the operating agreement and for the articles of organization for LLC. Suppliers. So a supplier must be a regular dealer, which is a firm that owns, operates, or maintains a store, warehouse, or other establishment in which material, supplies, articles, or equipment are bought, kept in stock, and regularly sold or leased to the public in the usual course of business. So that's something that you would really want to take a look at, that definition. All of this stuff is online, especially in the regulations, to see if you fall under a distributor, a supplier, or a broker. And the reason why is that we do not certify brokers, okay? So a distributor, firms operating as a distributor are identified as having a direct relationship with the manufacturer to distribute its goods and products within a specified territory or region. The goods and or products are not available or sold to the general public. And actually, I believe if you go online to our website, we actually have a form that lets you know, depending on if you are a distributor or a supplier, exactly what type of documents you need to provide to us to support whether you're a supplier or distributor, okay? Brokers are firms acting as a broker are not eligible for certification, which is what I said, but can be certified as a DBE. So they won't be eligible for the local program, but they could be eligible for the federal program. So a broker is pretty much the middleman, okay? So it's a person or entity that fills orders about purchasing or receiving supplies from a third-party supplier rather than out of its own existing inventory, and provides no substantial service other than acting between his or her supplier and his or her customer is considered a broker, okay? So that's something that could be discussed if you're not sure if you're a supplier, distributor, or broker. So the online application process. So everything is online. You will not mail us in anything. You will not bring us in anything. Everything is done online. So you will go online to the website, which is the chicago.mwdbe website. If you haven't already, you'll create a username and a password, and then you'll start the application process, okay? So there is a fee of $250, but once you submit your application, you don't have to immediately send the $250. You have to wait maybe like a week or two, and you'll actually receive an invoice from us with details on exactly how to submit the fee, which is $250. So remember, the $250 fee is only for your local programs. It's not for the federal programs. So if you're interested in doing local and federal, I would just do them at the same time as well, okay? The invoice does give you the website address to make online payments. So that's kind of fairly new, where you actually can go online and make the payments. Next slide. Information that is needed. So this is important and what we get a lot of questions about. Your contact information, of course. The type of certification that you are seeking, which is the M, the W, the V, the BEPD, DB, ACDBE. We need to know that information. If you are applying for the BEPD, which is for people with disabilities, we do require a Schedule G form. So that form actually goes to the mayor's office for people with disabilities. It doesn't come to us. So you'll submit that to them, and they in turn will communicate with us. So you don't have to provide any information to us directly about your disability if you're applying for that certification. You'll provide ownership information, employee information, facility information, financial information, and licenses. So when you're going through the application, it's in phases, okay? And it'll kind of give you, provide you with the information that you should be given to us. You don't have to complete the application all in one day. You get, I believe it's 60 days or 90 days to complete it, but I would definitely make sure you do it as soon as possible. Don't let that 90 days hit, because that application will be gone, and we cannot retrieve that application once it's completely gone, okay? And again, if you don't have anything, that's okay. It's just a matter of uploading a letter or something to us to let us know that you don't have, that certain information. You also provide resumes, evidence of executed contracts or invoices, your driver's license, birth certificate, proof of equity contribution, business bank account, organizational chart, equipment list, and loan information. So I know it sounds like it's a lot of information that you are providing to us, but all of it is needed to complete your application. So it's a lot. Take your time. It can seem overwhelming, but just, go at your own pace and just make sure you are providing everything to us. But let's say you forget something. It's not the end of the world, okay? Because as the officer, we review the applications, and if we're missing something, we'll actually send you a request for information through the portal asking for that information, okay? Stuff like your resumes, that is so that we can make sure that you have the expertise and knowledge in the areas that you're requesting for certification. So you will have to select what's called a nexus code to determine exactly what your area of specialization is, and that's what you will be supporting to us, that you actually have the knowledge and experience in that area that you're requesting to be certified. Financial documents. So you do have to provide 3 years of federal business tax returns. Construction firms have to provide 5. Again, if you don't have that, let's just say you started your business in 2019, you don't have that, that is absolutely fine. You're just going to upload a statement to us and let us know, I'm a startup, which I'll see anyway, but I'm a startup, I don't have that. Or if you have filed an extension for a tax return, then you're just going to let us know that as well, and maybe possibly provide a copy of the extension, okay? You're also going to provide 3 years of your individual tax returns, again, 5 years for construction firms, okay? So you definitely have to provide those. And then one thing you will notice that it says is that it says signed. So in 2019, we're all like, who signs tax returns? Just sign your name on it and upload it. Like simply, because we will sometimes, your officer may return that back to, not return it back, but ask you for the actual signed copies, okay? The 4506T, that's a form that you can download out the system. That pretty much is you're just giving us authorization in the event that we feel like we need to get your tax returns from the IRS, that you're giving us permission to do that, okay? W-2s and 1099s for any employees. Again, if you don't have it, that's okay. And that personal net worth statement, which is what we talked about for construction firms, if applying for the local programs, or for all new DBE and ACDBE firms. So after your application is submitted, okay, so it says the process can take approximately 90 days from the day we receive it. 90 to 120 days. It don't say the 120 on there. 90 to 120 days, and it actually could be longer, okay? And I always say from the point that your officer has everything is when that clock kind of starts ticking, okay? So it's not from that moment you hit submit button, because you have to remember when you hit the submit button, you haven't even paid yet, especially for the local program, okay? So it's kind of like a few steps that it goes through before it even gets to an officer and before the clock will start ticking. And it can make a big difference on how quickly you respond to your officer as well. So if I send you something on the 1st and you don't respond to me until the 31st, then that can also delay your application, okay? And then there's about only 6 of us, and we get hundreds and hundreds of applications, okay? We do check your application. It is thoroughly audited to make sure we have all of the documentation. But if you don't have it, like I said, that's quite all right. We will ask you for it, okay? So you just have to make sure that you provide it to us in a timely fashion. You may receive a site visit, okay? So a site visit, that will depend on if you're doing DBE or ACDBE, no matter what you're requesting to be certified in, you're going to get a site visit. But if you are just trying to do the local programs, if you're a construction firm, you're definitely going to get a site visit. If you're a trucking company, you're definitely going to get a site visit. If you are requesting to be certified as a supplier or a distributor, you're definitely going to get a site visit. So if you're just doing consulting and for MBE or something like that, then you will not be required to get a site visit unless your certification officer feels that it's necessary, okay? If approved for certification, it is valid for 5 years. So you get your certification in 2019, then it's good all the way up for 5 years. You will not get a new certification letter every single year. A lot of people ask us that letter is good for 5 years. 5 years, use that same letter to, to show to when you're bidding for contracts or requesting proposals, whatever is needed. So you will file an annual no change affidavit. But when you file that, we don't send anything for the no change affidavits. It's just pretty much you're letting us know that there are no changes and that there's nothing new in the company that we need to audit again, okay? Or is that? The no change affidavits are yearly, and then the recertification is every 5 years, okay? Expedited process. Why they have this in here? Because there is no expedited process. That's all I'm going to tell you. There's no expedited process. But what it is that if you are already certified through like the Chicago Minority Supplier Development Council or the Women's Business Supplier Development Council, all these initials, I'll be forgetting what's what. But if you are certified through one of them, then you can go through a different application process. And you, at that point, are only providing to us what you provided to those two organizations. But your officer is still going to come back and ask for additional information, okay? Because we have to do our due diligence to make sure that we feel that you fit the requirements for the program, okay? So maintaining your certification, again, I kind of covered this briefly. So you will submit an annual no change affidavit. And then for the federal program, it's good forever, the federal program. But you just continuously file the no change affidavits, and that's for the DBE and the ACDBE. So the local program is the one that you have to do every 5 years, but you still do an annual no change in between when you are originally certified and your recertification, okay? You must notify our unit regarding organizational changes, business name changes, ownership changes, address changes within 10 days of the change. So if there's a change in ownership, you should be letting us know that, because at that point we have to reevaluate and make sure you still qualify for the program, okay? There is, when you are originally certified, I mentioned that there are codes that you will request to be certified in. You pick a code that pretty much summarizes or is your area of specialization. There are tons and tons of codes that you can be certified in. We all feel like we can do everything, right? I get it. But if you can't ask me for a code in bridge construction and you have absolutely no experience in bridge construction, right? But let's just say 5 years down the line, you've been working, you've been building bridges, now you have this experience, you have certificates in it, you can come back and request for an expansion of services. That is free. It does take us a little while because we do, again, have to do our due diligence to make sure that you are qualified, that you have the knowledge, the expertise in those areas. So when you initially do your application, don't feel like you have to absolutely apply for everything. If you can do it, if you're experienced in it, that's fine. But remember that you can always request for an expansion of services at any time after you're certified, okay? So this is just a list of our sister agencies that a lot of them take our certification as well. So that's just kind of for your reference. And then the top 10 reasons applications are denied. This is a good one, okay? So questionable ownership and control. So like I said, that's one of the main things we look at. I have to make sure that you are the owner of your company and that you are actually the person that is in control, okay? So that's something that we absolutely look for. So if you can't, if I'm asking for information in regards to that and you can't provide that information to me, then that might be an issue why your application is possibly denied. Unclear description of critical functions and who is responsible. You can't substantiate where and how your startup funds or expansion capital was initiated. So one of the things that we ask for is your initial equity contribution. So that's saying, how much money did you use to start up this company? If it was $100 to buy a laptop, that's fine. You're going to say, I spent $100, here's the receipt, here's the proof that it came directly from my funds and not from somebody else's funds, and this is what I used to get my company started, okay? Outside secondary employment takes the majority of your time each day. So we're not saying that you can't have outside employment, but you can't say your business hours of operation are 9 to 5 and then you're working your full-time job 9 to 5. Because how are you able to run the critical areas of your business while you're working your regular 9 to 5? So, but some people are working 9 to 5, and then from 6 to 11, they're running their business. That's absolutely fine, okay? The company is not located in one of the 6 county regions. Points of contact did not respond to requests for information in a timely manner. I kind of mentioned that. We will send requests of information to people, and they don't even respond. After so many tries and attempts, I will call you, I will email you, but after a while, if you don't respond, then we do go ahead and close your application, okay? Which means then you have to reapply, pay another $250 once the application is closed, okay? Inconsistencies with the applicant firm name among various documents. Problems with contracts, missing, incomplete, not signed, executed by qualifying owners, or have no corresponding proof of payments. Required documents are not attached, or no explanation is given as to why the documents are not available, or the 3 or 5 years of tax returns were not submitted, signed as required. That's what I said. Just simply sign them. Okay, some stuff is just really simple for you to do. All right. So that's pretty much it. Those are our Facebook pages, Twitter, information, etc. So, any questions for me?
What if the business is a partnership? So do you need both resumes from both individuals, or just the one that is being applied for the particular certification?
So I will provide the resumes for all key employees. As far as like tax returns, I would do for the one that is 51% or more owner. If it's 50-50 and you're requesting to be a minority or women-owned, then both people should be a woman or a minority, then I would provide it for both.
Okay. So you need resumes for every employee?
Not every employee, the key employees and the, the owners of the company. Yeah. Okay. Is there any way to receive 1 second. No, it's recorded.
Is there any way to receive a waiver for the actual application fee?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. There's no waivers. Okay, you had a question?
Can a startup get certified?
Startups can be certified. So again, that comes into the point where I think I kind of mentioned where you might not have everything that's required. So you're pretty much gonna, one good thing we always tell people is just tell us your story, right? So if you started business in 2019 and you don't have everything, then you're just gonna say, I started in 2019, Keisha, I have no contracts. And that's fine, because at that point, I'll be focused on your expertise and knowledge to determine whether or not you can be certified, okay? I'm gonna start here.
I was actually going through the application process yesterday. Stopped by one of the questions when it asked if the application was reviewed by an attorney or a CPA. I answered no. It wouldn't let me go any further.
Okay. I know why. So when you're going through your application, there is an application that's called a PDE. It's a professional declaration of eligibility. I have a problem saying that word, okay? We all have our flaws. So when you were going through the decision tree, there was at some point you picked that PDE application. So that's why when you said no, it won't let you go any further, because for that PDE application, you have to have an attorney or an accountant to actually do that application. So you might want to kind of go back and start over. That's why, 9 times out of 10, that's why I didn't let you go any further. Okay?
My company is certified as DBE with the PACE. Should I apply for a city? Is it different?
So for the city DBE, no. So if you're already DBE certified with CTA, Metro, or PACE, they all are reciprocal, okay? But you can't apply for the local programs with the city of Chicago, because those are different. So your certification DBE with, you said PACE? PACE, that's federal. Right, so then you have the local programs.
So I have to apply with
You can do the city of Chicago or Cook County. We are reciprocal with Cook County. So if you are certified with the city of Chicago, you do not have to be certified with Cook County. Okay? So both, yeah, so you can go through either one, but both certifications are good for either city or county.
So then if you wanted to be certified in Cook, you would have to do a completely different certification? Or it's one and the same? The cities is the same as Cook's?
Right. So
And then what about the state? There's a separate one.
yeah, yeah. So the, like I said, city of Chicago, Cook County, reciprocal. You only need to do either or, okay? But the thing is that the county does not do the federal programs. So if you wanted to do the federal program, then it probably would be best to come through the city of Chicago and just do your federal and your local program at the same time, okay? The state has a totally separate application. So you would have to go directly to the state to get certified with them.
So with the certifications here, I see you have MBE, disadvantaged one. So if you're like a minority woman or disadvantaged business, do you apply for all three of them, or do you just apply for whichever one applies to you?
So you will apply, if you're a minority and you're a woman, apply for all of them at the same time. It's one fee for $250. Right. So you can, if you're a veteran, a person with a disability, a minority, and a woman, apply for all four of them. Or, and it's one fee of $250. You do not have to be certified to bid on a project, but you cannot tell them that you're certified or that it's pending, because they're going to want to see your certification letter if that bid is, if your bid is accepted. So certification is just a tool to help you, but you do not have to be certified to apply or bid, for any contracting opportunities that the city of Chicago has out.
So once you do get certified, are there is there an envelope or a system that you go into to fill out different types of opportunities that you available based on your certification?
Right. So then they do have, you can go on, they have the buy-in plan that lists all the contracting opportunities. I would definitely sign up for something called DPS alerts. That's something with the city of Chicago where it sends when different bid opportunities are coming out. It lets you know when there's different vendor affairs. It lets you know when, certification workshops and everything is happening. So I would definitely do that. Then I think she even said after this there is, I think she said the workshop after this is I'm certified now what? I think, or doing business with the city. I think so that's a good one to stay for, because then that kind of lets you know exactly what you need to do if you want to do business with the city once you're certified.
Once you're certified and you review everything and however many days it takes, and then you get in the mail saying that you are certified, is there a grace period, or is it the second that you get it, you are officially that certification?
Right. So once you receive your certification letter, you're certified. Right. So, and once you're done, once you are certified, you'll get it via mail, email, and it'll actually be in your portal, because you'll have a username and a password. So once we upload it, we hit the share button. You can also be able to go into your accounts and actually pull up the certification letter. But once you're certified, you're certified. Yep.
I started the application process already, and I was talking to my accountant yesterday, and they asked if there's any way I could share that with them, the actual the application. Would I just give them my username and password, or is there any other way to do that?
There is actually a way that you can create more than one account for the same, or username, password for the same account, so that you can give somebody else access. So I'm not really sure exactly how to do that. I'll give you my card, and then you can call me, and we can figure out, someone can be able to help you do that. If not, then I know technical support should definitely be able to do that. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
I just work by myself, so all these, and I'm incorporated, so all these organizational charts, there's a lot of things on here that meeting minutes I really don't do. So is that the letter you just say I'm an individual, but I'm underneath a corporation, therefore I don't, it's an S corp.
I know I got to keep talking to this because it's being recorded. It's an S corp. Okay. So as an S corp, you should have meeting minutes, but if you don't, that's fine. Because especially when it's just you, right? A lot of times we don't have that stuff when it's just an individual. I mean, you have to Google it. Just Google it.
Okay.
2019, Google everything, right? So now, but when you do Google that, because a lot of times we can tell when people just download it, and you should actually be reviewing the information in that and make sure it pertains to your company. But an organizational chart, people draw it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I wanted to make sure it was that simple.
It is that simple. And that's one thing people have to understand. They make this so much harder than what it really is. You know what I mean? And if you have questions about it, call us. I have a lady that I had to tell her, I said, just calm down. You'll be okay. Take your time. Read it. It's telling you exactly what to do. And that's pretty much what it is as you're going through there. So if you don't have it, it's a matter of, some people, what they'll do is that make one document. Say, I don't have bylaws. I don't have meeting minutes, et cetera, et cetera. And every point where it's asking you for something you don't have, upload that same document. So that you're not constantly saying on different pieces of paper, I don't have this, I don't have that. So if it's something that I'm looking for and I feel like you should have it, then I'll just come back and say, hey, do you have this? Or instead of this, do you have this? But you know what I mean? So we'll kind of help you through that part.
Okay, great.
Will a startup trucking company get a site visit? And what would be expected of a startup trucking company upon the site visit?
Yes. So trucking company would definitely get a site visit. Trucking company, you should have a truck, right? But you'll be surprised. Okay? So I'm just saying you should have what you're requesting to be certified. If you're requesting to do dump trucking, then we're looking for a dump truck. But there's a series of questions that the field analyst does ask. But they're kind of, standard questions. I'm sorry?
Can the truck itself be the will an office be?
Well, you should have a place where you're parking that truck, right? So usually that's where the field analyst, when he comes out, a lot of times that's where he'll come. So, if you have your home office, most people have home offices, right? So if you have your home office, you say, but I store my truck over here, then the field analyst will come meet you at where you store your truck, okay? That's fine. That's fine. It's a matter of, and that's something that you'll be providing, because one of the documents that's requested, we do ask for like titles or, proof of, the lease, et cetera. So you can't lease your trucks. One second. I'm sorry. You don't have to have a lease to be certified. You can lease or own your truck. If you're a trucking company, we need to see you got a truck. Because the thing about it is that I understand people want to be, you say, this is my company, but I don't have my trucks yet. But if you apply for certification, for a bid, you get the bid, where your trucks? How are you going to perform under what you're requesting to be certified in? So we got to make sure that you're up and ready to rumble if you are awarded a contract. Got it? Okay.
So let's say that you have a company that serves as a holding company or like an umbrella, and you have different entities. Do you get your certification per entity or for that umbrella company?
So normally are all of the companies, are they doing the same thing? Are they doing different stuff?
So I have a virtual assistant agency, and I'm launching an email marketing agency.
Okay, so they're going to be doing different stuff, kind of, sort of, not. Okay, so something like that, usually you will be certifying those different entities because they're doing different things. But that's one of the not an issue, but you will have to explain how you're running all of these companies effectively.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So that's something where you're going to have to explain, kind of tell your story and explain that this is the holding company and these are the entities under it, and, provide all the information for those different entities. Okay?
Okay, so what if you have like a mobile fitness company where you do fitness and nutrition on the go? Would that be a site visit?
No, that's not a site visit, but if your certification officer feels like they want to possibly see the work that you're doing, you can get a site visit. I don't want to say that you cannot, period, for certain stuff, because for certain things you're definitely going to get it, like construction, trucking companies. But in other stuff, you don't have to get it. But if I'm looking at your documents and I kind of feel like I want to see what's really going on, I can request a site visit. Okay.
So communication is through the online portal as well as email, or will you be emailing with whatever questions that you have, or are we responsible for going to the portal and looking if there's any notifications?
So when I communicate with you, it's always through the portal, okay? But you'll get an email alert, right? So, but you can check the portal, you'll get your email alert to know that there's something. Now, sometimes when people are not responding to the portal, I email you directly from my email. Say, hey, did you get it? Like sometimes that stuff might could go to spam or your junk mail or something like that. So you just want to make sure, I tell people, when you submit your application, always check your email. Even if it's like every day for the next 120 days, just to see if we've, sent you something so that you can respond. But everything normally is through that portal.
I'm willing to apply for the DBE with the city, because what I understood from my first question, that it's not recognized for the local bids, correct? For the DBE, which I have with the PACE, it's not recognized with, no, right?
No, let me explain.
Yeah.
So the DBE that you have with PACE is good for the city of Chicago. You don't have to get a DBE with PACE and a DBE with the city of Chicago. So remember, there's more than one program. Your federal program and your local. Yeah. So your federal program is your DBE with PACE. So you get that with PACE, you don't need to come to the city of Chicago and get that. For the local, you will have to come to the city of Chicago or Cook County to get that, okay?
As a supplier, because now I will have this application, we are a wholesaler. We are representing a manufacturer for automotive lubricants. Okay. My question that, because I don't have a store or warehouse, but we buy we purchase the product prior to shipment. In this case, we are considered as a supplier or a broker.
So everything that you are ordering, is it being drop shipped? So is it coming, you're ordering from a supplier, a manufacturer, and then it's going directly to the customer?
Yes.
Okay. So that's something we might want to talk about because it sounds like a broker. You don't have a warehouse.
But we own the product, but it's just sitting in their warehouse.
Okay. So that's something we'll talk about.
Okay.
Talk to me or give me a call because it's a lot of things we kind of got to discuss in regards to that, okay?
On the site visit, if the trucks are owned by other companies, but some owned by the same individual, although it's a startup trucking company, but the trucks that are going to be at the site visit are owned by the same person, would that or other people? But would there have to be like a contract between those existing companies, trucking companies, with the startup?
Gotcha. So your trucks should be owned by you, okay? If they're not, then at that point the officer is going to look at your relationship between who owns that truck, what is their involvement in the business, especially if they are a non-qualifying person. Well, right. So, like I said, so that's a case-by-case basis, but normally your truck should kind of be owned by you because we're going to look at, like I said, the control that person might have in your company, their investment in that company. At that point I'm really going to start looking at your bylaws and all that type of stuff to see exactly what's going on there, okay?
What if the trucks that are at the office? What if those two the trucks that are there owned by the two individuals that own the startup, but those two individuals also own those other two companies that own those trucks that are on site?
So are you saying that the trucks are located on a lot and there's other trucking companies that are on that lot? Okay, so this is one of those situations where when you request to be certified, where you would have to tell your story and exactly what's going on. Stuff like that is on a case-by-case basis, and without knowing a lot of details, I really can't answer those questions, okay? So that's when you would have to really provide a detailed narrative of exactly what's going on, okay, for your officer to review, okay?
You mentioned, you answered the question that if you had two companies that are doing two pretty different things that you would have to certify both. Can you go through the certification for two at the same time?
You can, that's up to you. But it's two different applications and two different fees.
And then, do you provide any assistance as you're trying to choose these NAICS codes so that you know really where it should fall? Because it looks like some of them look very similar to each other.
So usually a lot of times when you are doing your certification and you indicate your nexus codes, I'm making sure that those are really the ones that you qualify for, that those are really the ones that are your areas of specialty. You know what I mean? So you're not stuck with those codes once you put them in there, because you might put one thing and then I might look at it, or your certification officer might look at it and have a conversation with you or ask you, hey, provide me a detailed narrative of exactly what you do. A lot of times when we're asking that, that's what we're trying to see, so that we can get an understanding of what you do and make sure that the nexus codes that you're requesting is actually what your specialty is and exact, what you should be certified in.
Well, we get a heads up for these site visits because I'm rarely in my office because I do a bunch of tech work. So
Yes, yes. So a field analyst will call you and let you and actually schedule the site visit with you. So you'll do it based on when it's good for both of you all.
You might have answered this already. What's the difference between the DBE and the MBE? And my second question is for home. I do graphic design. Does that require a site visit?
So difference between DBE and the MBE is the federal local programs, two different programs. So DBE, ACDBE is federal programs, okay? So that's usually when somebody's trying to get a contract with like U.S. Department of Transportation or a federal agency, right? And then you got your MBE and WBE and all of those are the local programs. So that's if you were trying to get a contract with the City of Chicago, Cook County, et cetera, okay? And then, again, with the site visit, usually for graphic design, if it's the local program, no, you don't need a site visit. Again, like I said, if in the event that your officer feels like they need to have one for whatever reason, you could still get a site visit, but those are not required for those. Now, if you're doing graphic design for DBE, then you will get a site visit. The federal programs require a site visit. If that's where your home office is, yes. Or sometimes, depending on when you talk with the field analyst, you guys can meet at a Starbucks or something. Okay?
Can you apply for a WBE and a DBE status, both federal and state, in the same application, or do you have to do each application?
So there's two different applications. You can apply for them at the same time, but because they are two totally different programs. So people have to remember that. That federal program is exactly that. That's federal. So you have to complete a separate application for federal, a separate application for the local. And if you do that, I would do it at the same time, only so that you can get the same certification officer. And then what you'll notice sometimes, even when you do that, I might say if I'm your cert officer, if I have the same question for your DBE and your local, you're going to get two different, because they're two programs. So if the feds come in, we have to be able to show we separated it. So it might just be a matter of just uploading the same thing twice, but it's two separate applications. But I would do them at the same time, if that makes sense. Okay. Yes, it's two different programs, and it could be the exact same question. Yep. Yes. So DBE, they're all in the same portal. So when you get ready to do your application, you're going to go through, like we call it a decision tree. It's going to start asking you these questions. Okay, so when you first go through, you're going to go through the decision tree that leads you to the local programs. You're going to select MBE, WBE, whatever. Then you're going to have to start all over and then go back in and go through the decision tree that's going to lead you to the federal programs. Two different applications, but you're going to do them through the same portal. No, the federal programs are free. So, but the local programs are the $250. Then I will go right back in and do your federal, like I would do them back to back. Okay, so even though you'll see they're a little bit different, but they're so once you do your MBE or once you do your DBE, you're already going to have the documents. So it's just going to be a matter of going back up in there and just uploading them to that specific application. Okay.
Going back to my original question, where I was stopped because I didn't have a CPA or attorney review. Is that because I went the federal route? Was that what you were indicating?
No. Again, that is the type of application. So when you were going through that decision tree that I was talking about, at some point you answered, you probably went into the PDE application. So if there's an application process, which is a PDE, okay, and you have to have an attorney or a lawyer to complete that application. It's a professional declaration of eligibility. So usually that attorney or that accountant is doing everything. They're doing the site visit. If a site visit is required, they're doing everything so that when it comes to us, everything should pretty much be ready to go.
Is that option in the tree or is that
yes.
separate?
It's in that decision tree. At some point, you probably selected something. I had somebody else that went through that.
It's not a separate application.
It's a separate application, but as you were going through that decision tree, something you checkmarked made them think that you wanted to do the professional declaration of eligibility. Okay? So that's why when they said, are you an attorney or an accountant, and you said no, it said you can't go any further because an attorney or an accountant should be completing that professional declaration. Okay? So I would just start over or call us. Okay?
Does the portal have a list of federal agencies? And does the DBE carry more weight than the MBE designation?
They're two different programs. So it depends on what you're bidding for. So if you're bidding for, and it depends on what the contract is asking for. You might have a federal program that wants MBEs. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't say it carry more weight. It's just you have to kind of look and determine which one you think is more beneficial for your business. But what I always tell people is that I would personally apply for everything that I think applies to me. Because in the event a contract comes up and they're asking for DBE, but you only have MBE, now you're scrambling to get the D, and you're not going to get it the next day. So just apply for what you can now and be ready so that when the contract comes up, you already have your certification. Okay? Any other questions? I think there is when you say, so there's a list of our sister agencies on there. And so when you say a list, what are you looking for? Like different, uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
So like what are the organizations that are providing the federal opportunities versus which are the organizations providing the
Okay, so there's the buy-in plan, I think might help with something like that, where you can kind of see what's coming out and who's asking for what. Like you got to think of like I think I mentioned earlier, the U.S. Department of Transportation, they're probably going to be looking for federal. So I don't think there's a list. I can double check that specifically says that this company, this organization is looking for this, but you usually know that a federal organization is going to be looking for the federal, whereas, like I said, it's the U.S. Department of Transportation, we know that's federal versus local, right? Whereas Cook County is local, so they're probably going to be looking for the MBEs, WBEs. State, you got your state level, right? State is going to be looking for their own certification. Okay? I'll give you my card. Just call me, okay? Yes.
I'm gonna let you take the rest of them offline.
Okay.
I need to kind of get ready for
Yes.
the next one. The next class is doing business with the city. So if you're interested in staying with that, that's kind of paired up with this on purpose, because after you're certified, you want to know what's next. So you can stay for that one if you choose to do so as well. And if you would take a few minutes and fill out the evaluation, Keisha gave you some great information. And we want to know just basically what else you would want to know that we didn't offer you today, because I am in the area right now and figuring out